So hello and welcome everyone to this tutorial on the first lab of this class. This tutorial is intended for absolute beginners in Illustrator, so I will go through each and individual step such that you can successfully finish lab number 1. Alright, so after you downloaded the template that you can find on the website, you will see some interface that looks pretty much like this with our layout that we provide to you. So the first thing that we want to do, so the goal of this entire thing here, is that we want to add touch buttons to the body of these nodes right here that are then connected through a wire to a connector pad that we will place somewhere around here. And we will use later on this connector pad to connect it to our microcontroller and to do sensing. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is, of course, we don't want to modify this design template right here. So first thing that we want to do is create a new layer on which we can add objects. So when we do this in the lower right corner right here, Artboard might select it for you, but select layers. And by clicking on this plus icon, you can add a new layer. You can click again on it to make sure that this layer is selected, and you only draw on layer number 2. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to add a circle to this layout here that is situated right on top of the body of that node. This will be our touch sensitive area later on. So to add a circle, you can click on this element right here, this icon right here, and by holding the left mouse button, you see a bunch of tools that you can use. So there's, for example, the rectangle tool, but what we want to use here is the ellipse tool. All right, and once this is selected, you can just draw an ellipse here. This can take any shape, and if you want to make sure that this is a perfect circle, you can hold the shift button. This makes sure that this is always a circle. So try to roughly match the size of the body of this node. You can also click on it and then drag it around a little bit to make sure that it is right on top of the node. So once this is done, we want to change this circle into black. And the reason for this is that we later on will use a silver inkjet printer to print conductive traces that have exactly that shape. And the best way to do this is by making the printer use as much ink as possible. And this is of course true if you print something that has the color black. Alright, so as you can see right here, this is not really black, so it has a black frame and it has an infill color that is white. So the first thing that we want to do is, since we don't really need the frame, we want to get rid of the frame around it, right? So we first select the object by clicking on it, and then you see these two icons right here. These are two colors. So this is the left icon is the infill color and the right icon is the frame color. So to get rid of the frame, we can just set it from, instead of having a color, actually we can set it to none, so this makes it transparent. So it pretty much isn't there anymore, and you can see this frame is gone. Next, we want to set the infill color to black. So we click here, we click on black, and the circle indeed actually turned black. So the next thing that we want to do is adding the connector pad. This connector pad, again, you have some degree of freedom on how you want to design this, but I will design it as a rectangle. So I click again on this icon here, hold the left mouse button, but instead of the ellipse tool, we will use the rectangle tool right now. So once this is selected, we can draw a rectangle here. This is the same spiel as with the circle. You can have an arbitrary rectangle by holding the shift mouse button. This will be a rectangle that has equal edge length. So we want to make sure that this rectangle here has a width and a height of exactly 10 millimeters, so 1 centimeter. So at first we will select it. And now we want to change the edge length, and we can do this easily right here. So you can see here the shape dimensions. I think it's a little bit easier to click on transform. This also can be visible for you depending on what kind of screen resolution to have, but for my screen, I have to click on transform. And you see here X and Y. This is the position of this particular object inside of the document, and you see here W and H, and this is the width and the height. So we just set this to 10 millimeter. Once we press enter, we can be sure that this rectangle has exactly 1 millimeter edge length. Okay, and the last step that we have to do is, of course, we have to connect our touch sensitive area to this connector pad right here. This is most easily done by just drawing lines. So we draw lines by, again, clicking on this icon, holding the left mouse button, and instead of rectangle and ellipse, we use now the line segment tool. So to make it easier for us, it's actually beneficial to zoom in a little bit, and you can change the zoom factor in Illustrator right here, where we will go to a zoom factor of 300%, then it is much easier to see everything. Okay, it looks much better already. So we start with our line segment tool like somewhere in the middle of the circle here. Let's start exactly at the center. And now we can draw a line somewhere. But as you can see, this is again a freeform line that can go in any direction. And to make sure that it is a perfectly horizontal line, we can again hold the Shift button. And now, even if I move around, this line will always be horizontal. So let's let the line end right here. So what you can see here is this line actually has no thickness, right? The stroke size is at the moment at 0. To change this, we have here this UI element that says stroke, and here you can set the stroke size to 1 millimeter, and now the stroke has a thickness of 1 millimeter. So we will continue doing that now with 2 more line segments that will first go up here and then go to our connector pad. So let's quickly do this. So we start right here. We hold the Shift button again. You can make use of these support lines or auxiliary lines that tells you like where you are right now, and you can see here that at some point you will get a line that connects to the center of this connector pad. So once we found this, we stop again, and now we can draw the last line from the center of the connector pad to exactly the endpoint of the previous line segment that we drew. Okay, this looks already pretty decent, but not absolutely perfect, because when we look at the corners right here, we see there's like a little part of it missing, right? This is true here, and over here we see the same thing. So the reason for this is that these line segments are actually not one object. These are 3 individual objects. The line segment has a shape of a rectangle. And if you have 2 overlapping rectangles, then we have a part missing here. So what we want to do is we want to actually join these 3 objects together into one object. So this is also not hard to do. And there's a specific tool in Illustrator that will help you do this. It's called the join tool. So this tool is not available in this toolbar right here. So you actually have to add this tool to be able to click on it. And you can do this very easily by clicking on Edit Toolbar, and then you scroll down until you find the Join tool, which is right here, and then you can just drag and drop it somewhere on your toolbar, for example here. Great, so when you click on it, it is selected, and now this is a very easy tool to use. You just draw over the 2 elements that you want to connect, and as you can see right here, these 2 objects are now connected. We do the same thing right here, and that's it already. So this is one touch segment that we connected here, and your job will be to add the other touch elements on the 2 remaining nodes. Good luck.